said no to Jesus. That didn't matter because Silas kept on telling people about Jesus. He should always tell people about Jesus. Now, so Paul and Silas went to one place and another place called Berea. And just like you said yes to going to the best party ever. They said yes to this. That is great. So Paul and Silas always told people about Jesus. Should we do that together? Paul and Silas always told people about Jesus. Now, sometimes when we tell people about Jesus, some people say yes and some people say no. But we should always tell people about Jesus. No matter what happens, even if people know, try and show them and tell them about. Let's pray together. Dear God, thank you so much that you are powerful. Thank you so much that we have the best news ever to share with our friends and family about Jesus. Help us to always tell those we know. We're going to stand and sing more about this amazing God. So let's stand and sing, God is here.
John's going to be preaching to us about what happens when the gospel goes to Athens, which is another kind of quite well-known, famous passage. But today we're camping out in what I think is a little bit of an overlooked couple stops here in Thessalonica and Berea. And so let's just pray and ask God to speak mightily to us this morning through His Word. Father in heaven, we know that your Word is like a hammer that breaks rocks. say them much differently than you would. I'm sorry, it's just part of my Americanness here today. But these companies would have included Converse and Adidas and Puma and yes, Nike as well. And so Nike worked very hard. They finally managed to secure a contract with Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan goes to Fred Whitfield's house right after they had signed this contract. They're going to go out to dinner to celebrate. And Michael told that, hey, Fred, can I borrow a coat? And Fred says, sure, go grab one out of my closet. So Michael goes into Fred's closet, and in there for a really long time, he finally comes out with an armful of Puma clothing that was in Fred's closet. Personal friend on the floor, and he walks into the kitchen, grabs a knife, comes back in there, and starts methodically shredding every single piece of Puma clothing. And apparently, Michael looked at Fred and he said, Fred, don't ride unbelievable friend. And if you know how Jordan and Nike actually played out over the years, Nike, they went all in. They didn't ride the fence on Michael Jordan. They hoped to make about $3 million with the Air Jordan shoe deal in 1984. Between 84 and 88, that was their goal. To make $3 million in profit. 12 months after launching the shoe, they made Nike worked very hard. They finally managed to secure a contract. So you could say that both parties went all in. Not only Jordan with Nike, but Nike right after they had signed this contract. And as I hear about the Apostle Paul continuing to march with these guys from city to city, I feel like that same spirit of not riding the fence, of going all in, I feel like that emerges here from the text. There seems to be no hedging of bets, no matter how much persecution, how much trial, how much difficulty, much opposition. These guys continue to go through what commentators say is 100 miles of pain. If we just map it out geographically, how far they continue to go from city to city. And so what we're going to look at this morning is not just what happened in Thessalonica and Berea, but why. So I want to pull three things from the text this morning as we shine the spotlight on these 15 verses. Here's what we're going to see. We're going to look at one strategy in the kingdom and 4 So first, one strategy. We have here in these 15 verses two cities. They're sat next to each other geographically, but they're also sat next to each other in the scriptures. We're meant to actually see them together. So there's two cities, Thessalonica and Berea, but there's one strategy, or you could say one plan that actually plays out in both of these cities. And you could capture this plan like this. There's a sowing, a growing, and a going from the text that unfolds. Now, some of you are smirking right now because you know that's part of our church's mission statement. And no, John James did not pay me any money to propagate the vision statement here. If anything, I'll get ridiculed